when you look at the story of Adam, people argue that God gave Adam purpose. And I said, no, the first thing that God gave Adam was identity. Then he gave him a garden. He gave him the planet and says, tend to this garden, rule over the animals, name all the animals, do your thing. And so it wasn't until he was in purpose, understanding his identity so that he knew to walk in purpose, then came Eve. This is Caesar Walker, the cool, calm, collected one.
And I'm Ronnie Gatry, the emotional one.
And we are the Tipping Point Podcast, your source for the black male's perspective.
Tipping Point Podcast.
When Eve showed up on the scene, she met a man who already knew who he was, who already knew what he was doing. And so in order for her to flow with him, she had to come up under whatever it is Adam had going, which was the garden. And it's funny that when she was tempted by the serpent, she basically repeated everything that God told Adam. But we have no record of God telling Eve that. Where did she get that from? She got it from the man who was in his purpose. And the reason for why that temptation just stood out to me is both Adam and Eve took of the fruit based off of the deception that they would be more godlike. Well, when you consider what I just told you, they were already godlike. He was made in his image and likeness, and he had dominion. What more godlike did you need to take that fruit? But we see him not lead in that situation because he was attacked in the area of identity. He forgot who he was. Adam forgot that I'm in the image of God already. I don't need this fruit. I'm in the likeness of God already. I don't need this fruit. Some of the decisions we make as men is because we don't even know who we are, or we've forgotten who we are. And I think when you talk about unhealthy leadership, in many cases, it can be traced back to identity. And in some cases, when I don't know my identity, I can be easily led by someone else. And for a lot of our brothers, we want to lead, but we can't even tell you who we are. And that's a problem. That's a big problem for us. It starts with understanding who you are. What are your values? What are your values? What do you stand for? A lot of the decisions that we have to make in life become easier if we had a set of values and convictions that we are determined to live our lives by. A lot of the decisions that we are faced with become easier if we had guiding principles for ourselves. But because a lot of us don't, we find ourselves stressed, and stress comes from not knowing what to do. Thoughts on that?
It's a vicious cycle, Walker. Yeah. Do you know where I'm going?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's why you're about to go.
Yeah, but think about it. The lack of identity in terms of men being prepared to lead. Where does that start?
The lack of identity in the home?
Whose responsibility is it to help you establish that identity? Who does that fall on?
Parents?
The father.
Thank you, Black. What happened to you, man?
I've never been in your head. I've never understood where you were going.
It's a scary place.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, look at the cycle of
father.
it.
Yeah.
You think, and I'm trying to be so sensitive because I know there's some situations to where a father isn't present and it's just out of so many people's control.
Sure.
It is.
But it's why it's so devastating as well.
Yes, but we're speaking in context of why male leadership is so important. if in a totally fully optimized situation, that man has his identity, breeds offspring, imparts that identity edification into his offspring. They bring that on, they pass that down. They bring that on, they pass that down. We don't have an issue. But when it's broken, like you said, Walker, you're not going to sit here and tell me that that's not going to fall back on the man ultimately.
Sure.
We got to lead.
Sure.
Walker, you've got my skin crawling right now. Because like I think about how intentional I am with my boys and being observant of them and identifying characteristics and traits in them and taking to the Lord, number one, praying over that, asking for wisdom and how to shape that. That's a lot. It is. But it's something I keep going after. Because at the end of the day, Walker, when either my boys get married, I don't want them starting off the way I did.
I hear you.
It's that simple, man. That's the best way I can answer that.
I think that's the best gift you can give them is just preparing them, having them more prepared than what you was. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of parenting is that you're able to give your children an advantage and a better head start than what you had. Now, Walker, I want to be fair here because we got women coming at you in the comments. I feel like a woman is critical in this as well. I don't think their responsibility is minimized. Sure.
What
is her role in this?
Well, her role, I believe, and I was talking to somebody earlier today about this very thing. That woman is responsible for setting the example. Okay, so we know I got two boys, Walker. They gravitate to their mom right now. Mm-hmm. I feel a way about it. You know that.
I understand.
I'm getting over it. I know they're coming back to me. Back, right?
Okay.
Don't at me on this. But I think for this time right now, I'll use our situation. My wife has a responsibility to show my boys what it looks like to be an effective spouse to their father. She's planting a seed. You hear guys all the time talking about, man, I need a woman that remind me of my mom. Mm-hmm. And not all guys, but some guys say that. My wife has got a lot of qualities my mom has. She really does. I'm realizing that the older I get. And I'm thinking, without that, what's the residue from that?